Well, I'm very glad to have with us today the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Mississippi. For many years, you knew him as the Secretary of State, Delbert Hosemann, and he has been in office now for about 575 years, or it probably seems that way. It's been actually less than a year, but the whole world has changed considerably since he was sworn in. Delbert, number one, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out to talk to us. And number two, I'm glad that I'm able to talk to you because you have now added a new thing to your resume. You are now a COVID-19 survivor, and I wanted to get you on today to tell that story because I feel like that a lot of people need to hear exactly what you went through.
Well, I appreciate, first of all, it's good to see you again, and I'm glad to be back. We've been back at the Capitol about a week now. We're working full time, that kind of thing. During the last few days, June 30th and July 1st and 2nd, as you know, we had to appropriate here about $1.25 billion worth of CARES Act money, in addition to a $5 billion budget, in addition to a whole bunch of other issues. And so during the whole session, I had been very cognizant of the fact that we wanted to take care of ourselves, wanted to protect ourselves and everybody around us. So all of our group, we were very good about, washing our hands, wearing our masks. And then the last 2 or 3 days, negotiations got quite intense about things having to go. We were down with appropriations. The House was down. We were back and forth. My chief of staff was back and forth. And we were a little bit more lax than we should have been. And that was a mistake, and a clear mistake. So when we finished on July the 2nd, I think, the next day, we broke out of here, and I took a couple of days to be with my family. And my chief of staff called me Saturday. Had been 2 days later. I guess we broke on Thursday. And Saturday he called and said, "Look, I'm sick. I've got all the issues I don't taste and fever and whatnot. I think I've got COVID."
Oh wow!
And I went, "Uh-oh, this is not good." So I went into quarantine on Sunday, and he tested positive. I think he got his results back either Saturday afternoon or maybe Monday. So I went in on Monday and got tested, and I tested positive. Didn't have a whole lot of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Loss of taste a little bit, a little lethargic, that kind of thing, but not real shortness of breath or whatever. And I contacted the doctors and asked them what to do, and the answer was nothing. They take some extra vitamins and take some zinc, and which I started doing. In the first day or two, that was working fine, and I was thinking, well, this is not going to be too bad. And you read a lot of stories about this, about becoming fatigued or weak or whatever, and also trouble breathing and temperatures. Well, a lot of people had very high temperatures, 101 or something. I didn't have that. We did have some oxygen loss, and then by about, I'd say a week into it, Marshall, I couldn't get up.
Really?
My goal for the day was to actually walk 100 steps. Now, as you know, I usually run about 3 miles in the morning.
I'm about to say, you're probably in the best shape of anybody I know. I've seen you out running on the trail. You go flying past me. So you were really in good shape when this started.
I was, and we still do all the exercises and the little light weights and gym stuff, all that other kind of stuff. And we've enjoyed the ability to continue to run these road races and things. But I can tell you, I couldn't do 100 steps. And then my real goal then was to do 100 steps twice in a day. And so it was very difficult, and sleep a lot, that kind of thing. What's problematic about that is that you're running along the edge a little. And that's why I want to tell people to be so very, very careful. In a weakened state, had I took a little turn, and we could have been on a ventilator just in a matter of hours, actually. Or we could, sleep our way out of it, rest our way out of it, that kind of thing. You take a little Tylenol and just hope you don't make that turn. Unfortunately, a lot of Mississippians have, and we have virtually filled our hospital with these people. Those people are in danger, and when they go on a ventilator, it's not a guarantee that you come off the ventilator, quite frankly. So it's very difficult times. And we have this kind of laissez-faire attitude about this, like, well, my buddy got it and he wasn't that sick. Well, I got it and I was real sick. And Jason White, President Pro Tem, was real sick. My chief of staff, who's only 30 years old, literally couldn't hardly make it from the bed to the couch to watch TV or anything. So it spans whole generations of people. And the other part that's become more appropriate, I think more obvious to me, was when you go back and you think about what the Lord told us about love thy neighbor as thyself, and you think wearing a mask, well, my goodness, it doesn't look good, it doesn't go with my outfit, whatever. But wearing a mask is the most caring thing you can do for another person. In addition to protecting yourself, you're protecting your person that's standing next to you in Walmart, or this young man or woman or whomever, or child. And it is to me, a positive religious experience that you ought to do this for your fellow people. We are the most giving people in Mississippi in the world. We take care of each other when we're sick. We donate, goodness knows how much. Everybody goes to church. We're a very religious group of individuals, thank the Lord. And to me, it seems so unusual that you would be able to bifurcate the fact that you wear a mask to protect others and yourself from discarding that as not a proper thing to do. So I would obviously washing your hands, staying out of crowds. For some reason, I heard on TV the other night that a bunch of fraternity parties at Ole Miss or something. Those things, people just need to realize that we have to pay very careful attention to controlling this. Now, we are at risk here, not just the health risk, and I'll stop on this part and ask anything else you want to cover, but it's not just the health risk. There's economic risk. There are hospital risk. There are people that are not going to work. Distance learning is a nice thing, but it is not the optimum thing for our children. Our kids need to be in front of a teacher somewhere, where obviously they've done this phenomenal job and just made this happen over just a period of days and weeks and months. And we'll have to do some more of that. But the optimum is to have that child in front of that teacher, both for education purposes and social purposes. So we have to control those. The economics are at risk here. Our hospitals are in trouble. Our economics in our cities and counties are in trouble. We distributed $70 million to cities and counties out of the CARES money to help them get back on their feet. And we put $450 million in education out of the CARES money, more than just about any other state. I thought that was critical. We did broadband, which gives access to another 50,000 homes in Mississippi, so these distance learning will work. We get $300 million to small businesses. So I think the Senate and the House were very attuned to the real needs to come out of these funds. But in the end, we control our own destiny. Mm-hmm. And as hard as I tried and wore my mask and did all that other kind of stuff, I got COVID, and it put me down on my back for a week. And it could have gone one way or another. Just good Lord was good enough to me, and I guess I stayed in a good enough health. But I would so encourage everybody to love your neighbor as yourself. Take care of yourself, obviously, under the ways we've talked about here. Recognize all of the economic, social, school, other issues that come with us ignoring masking and these other things. And pay attention to the governor. He's working hard on this, doing his best job he can with the advice and counsel that he's got. Very difficult to manage all of this. Mm-hmm. So just pay attention to what they're saying, and we need to take care of ourselves. In the end, that's how we'll come out of it.
When you were diagnosed, and of course you were self-quarantining, you also had to worry about Lynn, your wife. You had other family members that you might have been in contact. Did anybody else in your family get the disease too?
It was catastrophic. Both my sons got it. My mm-hmm. daughter-in-law got it. My daughter got it. Her two children got it.
Wow.
Now, we were all when we broke, we had a family event. So we were all together on Thursday and Friday before I found out that this was
Yeah.
occurring. I had no symptoms. Like my son and I rode down together, and of course he got it. He's a doctor here, orthopedic surgeon here. And then my other son got it. He's a lawyer here, and his wife got it. Our grandchildren, most of them skipped it, thank goodness. Then my daughter went back to Dallas, where she lives with her 2 children. She got it there.
Oh, wow.
So we got the whole family. I mean, it's been catastrophic. It's been horrible. But thank goodness everybody has not had as severe attempts. Most of these have been. I don't know how you have a mild case of coronavirus. That wasn't what happened to me. So I don't know about mild, but I wasn't in the hospital. So I was somewhere between that. No, we had a whole family get affected.
I mean, I've heard that one of the things is when you're really as sick as you were and you're worried about taking that turn, that it's almost as much a mental thing as it is a physical. It's just terrifying. You're just sitting there the whole time. How did you get through that? I mean, did you get good advice from the doctors on things to be, you said take zinc and do all the things you're doing, or was it basically you just hung on in bed and just said, I'm going to ride this out?
Well, we basically held on in bed and tried to stay away from everybody else and quarantined up in my little bedroom there and that they gave me, and I just stayed away from everybody. But it's funny. They had these golf tournaments, and they had a golf tournament at Jack Nicklaus's course, and then they had the memorial came the next week. So it starts about 10 in the morning. They have a channel, and so you're trying to watch something to get out. I'm so sick I couldn't read, which is really unusual for me. I'm a voracious reader, and so anyway, I just watched the golf tournament, for 2 weeks, all morning, all afternoon, and at night they'd replay it, So I got to where I knew how the greens were going to break, and all this. So I'm watching Jordan Spieth line up a putt in the second in the memorial. I said, no, George, it's going to break more than that. Man, I'm yelling at the TV. And sure enough, it broke right. I could have told you about it then there. But you get wrapped up in trying to, I think, divert the attention from, that you're just literally a breath or two away from going the wrong way. And Manly Barton just got out, thank God, from been very sick from the coast. And I think we've had one senator and about 20 members of the House have all been sick from that.
Did they do any contact tracing up at the Capitol? Did they know where it came from? Or
when I was tested, I got a call from the health department. Who have you seen? What have you been around? And of course, we answered the questions for everybody, and then we quarantined everybody that had anything to do with anything. Unfortunately, as I said, most of my family ended up getting it from us all trying to get together for the 4th of July, and it turned out to be it'll be one of those things we laugh about at Christmas, I think, but it wasn't fun at the time.
Right. Well, you talk about that, and we got still some unfinished businesses. Obviously, the governor vetoed the education bill. You still got marine resources. You got to get that pushed through. You still got work to do. And I mean, I'm sure everybody's really nervous about coming back to the Capitol right now. How are you going to manage to get the session finished before the?
Well, I actually plan to call the governor today. I'm hopeful that we'll come back in next week. Where we got caught was in I guess all the chaos that goes on in the last 48 hours of this kind of thing. We had been stretched out. Everybody had been very careful. We distanced out on the floor here, and we had some that stayed in their offices and would come down to vote and would watch on TV and watch on the webcast, come down to vote. And we were very, very careful. So I think we can logistically do this to come back in for a day or so. We will all be paying particular attention, of course, to the social distancing and whatnot. I think we can do that. I had a couple of senators that were had some breathing issues beforehand, and so we want to be particularly careful about that. One of those has since retired. So I think we can handle coming back. I want to come back. The education thing is unnecessary to me. There was an error made. I appreciate the governor catching that, but vetoing a good bit of the budget was not the appropriate thing to do. We need our teachers. If one thing they don't need is to be unstable about getting paid. Everything else that's going on with a teacher right now, they don't know whether they're going back to class, or they're going to postpone it, or they're going to do distance learning. Some of them are doing distance, some of them are doing part-time. Everything is chaos, and they are worried that they would have a risk of transmission from some of these children, you know. And so the last thing we need to be talking about is whether or not the compensation is going to be right. So I want to finish that. DMR, I think is one of my biggest disappointments that we weren't able to finish that. That's the Department of Marine Resources, for those who are not familiar with it. And it runs, basically, it's a Fish and Wildlife Commission on the coast, and it takes care of our offshore, our redfish, oysters, all those kinds of things, manages those, manages islands. Remember, we bought Cat Island when I was Secretary of State, manages a lot of things like that. So they need to be up and running, and they're just on part-time, a few working and not getting compensated at all. And that's not the right way to run a railroad. People that work for the state or work for you or work for Mississippi Today, whomever, they need to get paid. Right. And not getting paid. And so I want to resolve that. The issue revolves around some additional money called Gold Mesa, which is money we get from oil and gas drilling off the coast. And it's about $65 million. And so some of the House wants to appropriate specifically. The Senate has been more likely to allow the Joe Spraggins and the people that run that to come forward with proposals and maybe vote on those at a later date after the governor has reviewed them. So that is ongoing now. But I tell you, Marshall, if it goes on just hardly any much longer, we're going to have to bifurcate that and we're going to get our people paid, and then we'll work out the construction budget later, maybe November or October when we come back, or maybe January.
You did this for about, I guess you said July 4th is when you think you got it. And it's been a month, and you went 3 weeks, you were sick. What was that turning point when you were laying there? Suddenly one day you woke up and you said, you know what, I feel a little bit better. I think I might make it. Kind of describe that moment, because I think, I know a lot of people that have had it, they'll feel a little bit better, and then they'll relapse, and then they'll get sick again.
I know, and you know me well enough. About halfway through all that, I said, look, I got to get up. And so I did.
Yeah.
And I got dressed, and I got in my truck, and I drove on the road. Well, it didn't take me very long to think, man, I probably shouldn't have done this. I wasn't strong enough to drive, around very, very, very far. So I think you go through these fits that you feel like you got to get up and start again, and you really are not ready to do that.
Yeah.
So I drove around a little bit and then came on and went back to bed. I think there isn't really, at least from my standpoint, I think the others can tell you, but there's not just a light at the end of the tunnel. Every day you get a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Still, yesterday was the first day I walked a half a mile, and today I jogged a half a mile. So that's a big step forward. But you don't recover from this. Some people take months.
Yeah.
To recover. That's why it's so important for people to realize that they talk to their buddy and he had COVID-19. He was back in a week or whatever. It's not like that. Most people will have terrible back pain, shortness of breath, fatigue. Like I had significant fatigue. You got to worry about the people in your family. You can't go to work. I mean, this is a serious matter, and I just encourage everybody to pay particularly close attention to it. I'm blessed to be able to get back to work. We've been back about a week, back to our normal 9 to 9 or 9 to 8 schedule up here. So I get a lot of things done when they're not here and I can work.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you sound really strong too. You were coughing a little bit, so it sounds like you're still working your way through it a little bit, but that's okay.
But it is okay. A lot better than it was a week ago, and a lot better than it was 2 weeks ago.
But they're saying that the vaccine, if that happens, or a treatment that we're looking at maybe after the first of the year. So, once again, you give the advice to do the things that we need to do to make sure that we slow this thing down, because like I said, I don't see economically how we can handle if we have to shut down again. We need to do everything we can just short of that to be able to keep everybody healthy and to be able to get kids in school and things like that, because we don't need to have, the cases going up and up and up and clog the hospitals.
It is. We're working. I've been on with the hospitals this week, several of them trying to work on additional beds, because I don't believe that we're through this.
Right.
And those have to be, the air pressure has to be different. And there's a whole lot of things. It's not just a hospital room. So it takes a while to get those up. And we've had a couple of proposals that we've worked with the hospitals. I'm hope some of the money from CARES that wasn't used by everyone, we may be able to allocate back to that. But that should tell you the seriousness of this. We are preparing hospital beds for, I would say, at least the next year. Even if we get a vaccine, does it work? Does it all work for the same people? Is it available? Who gets it first? All of that's got to be done. The productivity, there's 10 or 15 of them going on. Which one's better? I think all of that is problematic. I don't foresee us just waking up in September and having football season going like it always was and all that other. It's just not going to happen.
Well, any final thoughts? I really do appreciate you taking the time and telling your story, because I think a lot of people were worried about you, and I know a lot of people are praying for you, and I know they're going to be glad to see that you're up and back moving, and that it is possible to be able to plow through this thing.
Being in politics, you only hope 51% were praying for you. At least.
Well, I'm sure people were cussing you too. I mean, that's part of it, I guess. But
we had a pretty good year this year, and people forget we reorganized the State Fair Commission, which was just not doing well, and put it under the commissioner. We devised up $1.25 billion worth of money. We reorganized other assets here. We transferred a lot of money to education. We held our budget intact completely. We gave indemnity for healthcare workers that are working on COVID-19. And you can go down a whole laundry. We redid driver's licenses where there's a penalty if they don't get them to you within 2 hours now, starting January 1st. A whole laundry list of good things that we did in the legislature this year. And I am already started for next year. We have things that we want to do to streamline state government, make it run more efficiently. We have things we want to do with education. First bill this past year was a teacher pay raise. First bill this year will be a teacher pay raise out of the Senate. There are things that we have our eyes on to make things better. We did a good human trafficking bill this year that Speaker Gunn was very involved with. Just a lot of good things happened. And in addition to that, we're all of us are anxious to see what the Flag Commission does and what they come back for us with the hopes that we've turned a corner and we'll have a unifying symbol for Mississippi to go forward. Very difficult, a contentious thing, as you know. My great-grandfather fought at the Battle of Vicksburg, so it was very, very difficult to work through all that, but I think we did, and I'm very hopeful about what's coming out of that. So just a lot of positive things, Marshall. COVID has colored everything because our lives are so changed now. But there are positive things going on in Mississippi. There are positive economic development things going on. There's a lot of good things happening. And if we can get through this next 6 months, I think, you'll see, I think, an accelerated growth pattern in the state. We're positioned to do very well here, I think.
Well, thank you again for taking time out to talk to us today. And like I said, I'm personally, just as somebody who's known you a long time, I'm glad to see you're up and getting better. And it's just, I'm very thankful for that.
Me too. And we're looking forward. You appreciate the things a lot more after you realize that they're not available all the time. So I'm ready to continue going to work. We're looking forward to having a real good year.
Good. I look forward to drawing you in many cartoons. And
Yeah, I sent you a little note, said I made your day when we did all this other stuff at the end of the session.
You did. It's never a slow day. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm helping you when I can, man. I'm helping you when I can.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you.